Alright guys, so last time I drove my shifter cart I decided to narrow the front a little bit. The cart oversteers a little more than I'd like, so by narrowing the front you're kind of taking away the grip from the front and also reducing the amount the rear lifts. So by narrowing it you can take away the front. Unfortunately when I did this I felt like it made the cart feel a little bit twitchy, so I'm gonna move the front wheels out again. I'm going to show you how to do that. So with the barrel you have this funky tool to undo this nut, which sits in this nut here. That's not typical with all carts. Like I say, if you look at my son's cart, it has a standard wheel nut. There it's just a regular, I think it's a 17mm wheel nut, or maybe bigger than that. A lot like that. My old Tony cart was like that, but for this, like I say, we use this little funky tool here. So yeah, it's pretty easy to change. There should be a locking nut on there, but mine since disappeared. So basically, just turn it forever and a day. This is not a good solution. I really wish they had a gun-mounted one so you can spin it off. And on the barrel, so you get 4 of these little shims. So I had it set up with 1 on the inside and 3 on the outside. So I'm going to go back to 2 and 2. Anytime you take anything apart on a go-kart, it's always a good idea to clean it. You know, make a mess. So basically, by moving the 1 shim to the inside, it's going to add that little bit more width, and then the 2 are still on the outside. A lot of the carts, I know my son's cart, the front wheel bearings, you've got to torque it just the correct amount. So when you tighten it, you tighten it and you make sure that the little spacers still spin freely, but only just. With this one it doesn't really matter, nor the Tony cart, you could just tighten it up. But you want to check to make sure there's no play up and down. There's a tiny bit in mine, the bearings have a little play in them, but it's not loose. That's nice and tight. And if you look here, you can see this space versus on this wheel, the space is much smaller. On this space, it's bigger, look. So I'm gonna change this side first. Find a place for it to stay. Make sure you line up the little spokes with the hub. Also with this, it's a nylon locking nut. You see the little nylon piece on the outside and not on the other side. The nylon always wants to go on the outside. That kind of holds it in place. Over time though, they do wear out. So you just got to pay attention to that. If you've been changing these off and on, the nylon wears grooves in it and then it doesn't bite anymore. So over time they need replacing. So if you notice a nylock, whatever nylon nut it is, keeps coming loose, it's time to replace it so you get some fresh nylon in there. There we go. So that is how you change the spacing on your front wheel. So now my front's a little bit wider. That's going to have the caster will have a little bit more jacking effect on the tires, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more stable for when I'm driving. I also changed the height of the front of the cart. I added a little negative camber to it. I had a little bit of positive, and now I've had a little bit of negative camber. Well, when you do that, the front of the cart kind of sits a tiny bit lower, so I've decided to move one of these shims to raise the front up. And actually it's probably not going to raise it up much, it's probably just going to counteract the effect of changing the camber, but the camber gives you a little bit more front grip, so hopefully that's going to work well, and maybe we'll see how I do at the next race. Alright, thanks for watching.